Hi, everybody. This is Christian Shearer from Regen Network. I'm just giving you another project update. I'm here in San Francisco. I'm here for the Seed and Transform conferences that just completed today. Conferences went really well. It was great to connect with the community there. Let me start out with a little product development update. Our dev team's putting the final touches on the Green River release and starting to work on clarifying the specs and time frame for the Houstatonic release. Houstatonic release is going to be primarily focused on our blockchain functionality, working towards a blockchain launch, which we expect to happen sometime between now and then, between July and the end of the year. And there's a number of factors going into which functionality we want to build in before we actually release the chain. And we're working with our team members and the community at Cosmos to figure out what is the right balance between having lots of functionality and and just launching the chain, getting the validator community engaged, and then using the on-chain governance process to upgrade the chain over time. So kind of working on that. So we are launching the fourth version of our testnet of our ledger in the next couple of weeks. And this one is going to be live with validators from the Cosmos community. We have a broad set of validators from that community that are leaned in. We're really honored and appreciate being able to spend the time communicating with them about how to do this really well, and the fact that a number of them have committed to being validators on our chain. So we're absolutely excited to learn and work alongside with them. If there's others out there on this call who are currently validating on other proof of stake networks or are interested in validating on the Regen Ledger, Regen Network chain, we would love to chat with you about it. Please connect with our Telegram channel. If you search Telegram for Regen Network Public Group, you will find our Telegram channel. Reach out to us there, and then we can invite you into our private group that's focused on the testnet and the validating side of our development. We would along the lines of participating as a validator, we'd love to get more community participation and eyes on our code as we're building it. So please go to our GitHub repository. We'd love to have you check out our issue tracker and participate in helping us move this functionality along. It really takes a community to make this really work. So if you're a dev that has the know-how and interest to get involved, please do. We're all about that. So a partnership update this week. We signed a partnership with Starhawk. Starhawk is the author of The Fifth Sacred Thing, and a number of other books. She's also an earth activist and a permaculture trainer. She's one of the people who's really moved forward the social side of permaculture and the permaculture movement. And she's recently starting a whole new training to focus on earth activism. It's something that's meant to be coming after you've taken your permaculture design course. So check out earthactivisttraining.org and see what she's up to. It's awesome to be connected with her. We hope that our functionality will help her succeed and help all those folks that are inspired by her work to move forward in creating impact on the landscape. A couple of blogs that have come out this week and the past week from our community. Will Zoll did a critique and narrative inspired by the book Punished by Rewards, which is super interesting for him to be doing that because what we're building is a contracting platform whereby we often say farmers are being rewarded for their for their positive impacts on the environment. Well, there's all sorts of complication, both in terms of how do we incentivize the intrinsic values and intrinsic motivation towards creating positive change in the world versus having financial rewards that are completely extrinsically motivated. So Will does a great job of kind of talking to that in his blog post up on Medium. You'll also find the links to that down below in the comments of this video. And then Kyle Burchard, who's our economist at Regen Network, created a blog post called Expanding the Set of Feasible Allocations, What Economics Can Tell Us About Mobilizing Group Action. It's also a pretty interesting look under the hood a bit with one of our economists about how we're thinking about shifting the world through financial incentives, etc. So where have we been the past couple of weeks since our last update? We were in New York City. Just last week at Blockchain Week. New York City. We went to the Token Summit. We hung out with a lot of the Cosmos community. We're really excited to be leaning in with them, as I said earlier. It was great event. I met a bunch of people, made some potential interesting connections in terms of partnerships, a couple interesting connections potentially in terms of fundraising, and we're just coming out of there really fired up. One of the things that we were aiming to do while we were in New York for Blockchain Week was to validate a few of our assumptions around our token model. When we interviewed, I don't know, probably 8 or 10 different folks, sharing with them what we were currently thinking, and then got their reflections and upgrades on that model. And so are really honing in on that this week to get that finalized for a token offering that we're currently working on. So following that, I flew directly to Denver and drove with a colleague, Daniel, of mine, over to Aspen for something called Earth's Call. The Ellen MacArthur Foundation put on this event, and it was incredible. They paid for everyone's stay. Everyone that came to the event had full costs covered, and they were just trying to convene the most leading minds and hearts around the strategy to reverse global climate change. And it was pretty awesome event. Again, tons of amazing connections, tons of overlap with what we're doing, and tons of validation for the product that we're building. Another really cool aspect of that event is they put on the Earth's Call concert, which you can look up on YouTube if you want to check it out. But headlining that concert was Patti LaBelle, which was super special to be able to see her in concert. You know, I think she's a little bit older than 70 years old now, and she just rocked it on stage. She came out and sang John Lennon's Imagine, and she sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And at some point she threw the mic stand across the stage and kicked off her shoes and really got fired up. But in addition to Patti LaBelle, Ladysmith Black Mambazo was also there, who is the band that backed up Paul Simon on Graceland. They were incredible. Then the great Alan Parsons was also there. He's done tons of things in his career. One of them that I appreciate the most is he was the producer on the Dark Side of the Moon, the Pink Floyd album that is just incredible. Of course, Mickey Hart was also there, which was the drummer for the Grateful Dead. Colby Kelly, who's not someone that I'm a huge fan of, but she's also an amazing musician. She sang some beautiful songs. And then there was this group called the Compton Choir that sang. This is a group of about 15 to 20 girls from Compton, from the age 13 through 18, that came out and sang some like beautiful soul music. And they were all singing a cappella, and then one by one they'd step up and do solos. And each of them just had an incredible voice, just unbelievable. Made the hairs on my arms stand up. Beautiful. It was a really awesome event. Really appreciated it. Check out Earth's Call. They're going to be putting out a request for proposal soon and have committed to giving away $50 million towards the best climate change reversal, climate change mitigation projects out there. So we're certainly going to be submitting a grant proposal when that comes out, and you should too if you're working on something. Immediately following Earth's Call, I landed in San Francisco. I met up with our product designer, Ron Steinhertz, at Seed 2019, which is an impact investment event. One of the big focuses there was equity and inclusion, which is something I'm, being a white CEO of a technology company, I'm really interested in continuing to learn and continuing to be humble about how it is that I show up in the world, and making sure that I'm not perpetuating the lack of diversity and the oppression that has come before, and I'm sure that I'm doing that imperfectly at this time, and I want to continue growing my capacity to show up, in a way that uplifts the well-being of all those around me. And right after Seed 2019 was Transform 2019. It just got over today. Transform was a conference that brought together the community of circular economy, the community around regenerative business. Carol Sanford was one of the keynote speakers at the very beginning, kind of set up the tone for the whole community. She is a friend and mentor of mine and of our company. We're using a lot of her frameworks and her framing for how to run Regen Network as a regenerative business. At Transform 19, I led, I spoke on a plenary on technology and service of regenerative agriculture. I think the thing went pretty well. I didn't have very much time, but I tried to engage the people in the room to really consider, what does agriculture look like when you engage in it in a extract value mindset? How is it different when you look at it from a, solve problems paradigm, where you're just trying to mitigate the harm that's already been happening? What does it look like when you come at it from a do good paradigm, or a paradigm that's characterized by a set of ideals about what's right in the world? And how is it different when you then go to a paradigm of regeneration, the way that I see it, that has more to do with growing the capacity of those people and those systems and those businesses that you interact with to really grow their capacity to show up more full, more healthy, and more engaged into whole systems. So yeah, I think the panel went really well. And then immediately following that, I led and facilitated a session with Indigenous Designs, which is a fashion company working with indigenous peoples in Central and South America. And they are very interested in trying to provide those folks who actually create produce the wool, weave the fabric, sew the clothing, all those in the production chain. What they'd really like to see is that those folks actually have ownership in the company and have equity. That's proving to be very legally challenging. So what we've been talking with them about is using blockchain technology and a transparency in the supply chain to equate to all the folks that added value to that garment getting a little profit share on every sale. So it was pretty interesting to dig into that and about what that would entail in terms of our technology, and then what are all the added benefits that could come from that. Great panel. The group there was really engaged. So I've got another event tomorrow with Joel Glansberg from the Regenesis group about how our mind and what pattern of mind we can bring to our engagement with natural systems. I'm really excited just to be a participant in that and hopefully grow the capacity of mind to engage with natural systems in a way that is enlivening and deeply enriching. That's happening tomorrow. On Tuesday, Regen Network is hosting an event here in the Bay Area up in Mill Valley, where we're just bringing together folks and introducing them to the technology that we're building and trying to get to know the community out here. After that, I'm flying to Detroit for the Sustainable Brands 2019 conference. I spoke at the conference last year, and I'm looking forward to digging in again this year. I'm speaking on a panel about regenerative agriculture with the sustainability directors from Dr. Bronner's, from General Mills, and from Danone. So it's going to be a really engaging conversation as we're bringing up the concepts of regenerative organic certification, or the focus of regenerative agriculture mostly on soil carbon, growing the organic matter in the soil. So how do we, in any of these cases, how do we encourage the rapid adoption of regenerative agriculture strategies? And so it's going to be a super engaging conversation. If you're interested in going, just search for Sustainable Brands Detroit on Google, and you can find out more about that conference. And if you live in Detroit and are engaged there, please let me know who we should be meeting. I'd love to get introductions to folks that you think would be a good partner fit with Regen Network. So reach out to me. Again, find us on our Telegram channel and ping me there. I'm just going to finish. I was looking for a poem or a quote I wanted to share about agriculture, and that song "Turn, Turn, Turn" from Pete Seeger that came out in the late '50s came up on my search, and I looked into it. And it's really interesting. The lyrics, except for the title "Turn, Turn, Turn, Turn," which is kind of repeated throughout the song, are adapted basically word for word from the first 8 verses of the 3rd chapter of the biblical book of Ecclesiastes. So I'm not generally a person to be quoting the Bible very frequently. I think this quote is pretty relevant in our time right now. So check this out. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which was planted. A time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. A time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, a time to refrain from embracing, a time to get and a time to lose, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. We are in particularly interesting times right now. Let's do this. Thanks, everybody.